Yeah, that's what I've wondered, Dr. Burgess. Like, of all the people that you could kidnap, and let's just say this was because of the daughter, Savannah Guthrie, and you were going to try to get money, but still to take an 84-year-old woman who Savannah Guthrie said sometimes even has trouble walking into the mailbox. And there's a lot of rich people around. I just wonder why do you think this woman, why an 84-year-old woman?
Well, unless it was the target was somebody else in the family, and the object was to get someone that was close to that. That is a possibility that you could take somebody else than the actual target. And the other question you want to ask is who would benefit from this, and who is going to gain from this? Obviously, whoever took her, we know she was taken because she's not present, but the motive for that is very curious. I think if they could get the motive, you'd have more to go on. But right now, we don't.
Just like this heartbreaking video of Nancy Guthrie that has now come out from more than 10 years ago. It's a Today Show segment. She actually taped it in her bedroom, which is just kind of creepy in a way that it's in her bedroom in light of everything that we know happened now. But also, it just shows what a wonderful woman she is. And I don't want to lose track of that. So I'm going to show you guys that and kind of talk a little bit about it in this episode. Also, a lot of questions about Annie Guthrie's car. Remember, it was taken by police for processing. It has still not been returned, and I've got the latest on that and why that may be, which I'm going to get into in this episode. And then, one thing that has breaking right now, and I need you to understand what I am about to tell you is not speculation. This is documented, this is verified, and this changes everything about how this investigation is being reported. Day 72 in the search for Nancy Guthrie, and while every outlet is covering the ransom notes and the reward money, NewsNation's Brian Entin, the journalist with more confirmed sourcing inside this investigation than anyone else in the country, is pressing a question tonight that nobody in mainstream media has fully answered. The Honda CR-V, the car that drove Nancy Guthrie home at 9:48 p.m. on the last night she was confirmed alive, is still at a mechanic shop in Tucson, still being reassembled, still in law enforcement custody 72 days after it was taken. Nancy's own Subaru was returned weeks ago. This car was not. And here is what I believe that asymmetry tells us. Because in my analysis of federal investigative procedure, extended retention of a single vehicle beyond the standard forensic window means one thing. That car's electronic system, the GPS logs, the door timestamps, the route data, the data that runs whether the driver knows it or not and cannot be turned off, recorded something on the night of January 31st that investigators are not yet ready to make public. Brian Entin is now asking what that something is, and tonight, this video assembles every documented layer of what that car is holding. The data that cannot be manipulated. The pre-incident timestamps the FBI specifically flagged. And why the answer inside that Honda may be the missing link that either closes one line of inquiry completely or breaks the official timeline of that night wide open. Stay with me through this entire video because what I am holding until the end is the analytical conclusion that connects all three threads. And it lands harder than anything this investigation has produced publicly in 72 days. Welcome to this channel. Whether you are in the US, UK, Canada, Australia, or anywhere in the world, I want you to stop right now and drop a prayer of faith for Nancy Guthrie. Your prayers might be the very key that brings her home. Father, open the eyes of those who have seen something. Move in the conscience of anyone sitting on information. Bring Nancy home and protect every person watching tonight. Their families, their grandparents, everyone they love. Stay safe out there. In other words, if that vehicle moved in a specific direction on a specific night, that direction has been recorded. If a door opened or closed at a specific time, that timestamp exists independent of any human account. Now, here is what makes this data analytically unique in the context of this investigation. It is not affected by emotions, pressure, legal strategy, or the passage of time. It does not tell a story. It records one as it happens. Loved ones, parents, grandparents, who they worry about, who are living alone. Yes. This hits home for them because this is like their worst nightmare. Absolutely. Like the lady up the street that my husband and I love and care for so much, she's been telling me she really wants soft serve. She doesn't know where to get it. Everyone's always trying to drag her to Pinkberry, but it's too bitter, whatever. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm getting her soft serve right now. I'm not going to let a minute go by without trying to do something nice. Because she's the same age as Nancy. She's just as sweet as how everyone, describes her. And there was something else last week where I told my brother, babe, She's 84 years old. Just make it for her. And he did, and he ran it up to her, you know. So I think everyone's going the extra mile for the older people in their communities just out of love and respect for Nancy and what her family's going through, you know? Yeah, and I just wanted to, because I know with your business now, and you advise people and you help people to be safer and stuff. Because so many people watching this, I think, are wondering, like, what can they do? What do you recommend in terms of cameras? Especially because, like, most people can't afford a million cameras and the best system. But for what most people could afford, what would you recommend? Well, I have a camera specialist on my crew, and so he usually does that. But I can tell you that you should have point, tilt, and zoom cameras, and you should be able to have complete coverage. What you really want is to be able to sit in your home and use your phone if you hear a noise. Like, don't open the door, don't go to the window. Have enough coverage with your cameras where you can just see what the threat is from the comfort of your own room. And make sure you lock all your doors and windows every night. Most people don't realize that a lot of offenders get in through the bathroom window. Most people, if you have a window in your bathroom, you always leave it unlocked. And they're just saying, everyone recommends, and the best practices are 100% don't leave any window unsecured or unlocked. Now, most people say no one can get through my bathroom window. That's what they all say. I mean, people can get through really small spaces. Just look at, any type of movie about prison escapes. They're getting through tiny little holes. It's insane. And unlike human testimony, it does not evolve under questioning. Apply that system to the night of January 31st going into February 1st. 3 documented data points from that night. 1:47 a.m. Doorbell camera disconnected at Nancy's home. 2:12 a.m. Secondary motion sensor detects presence. 2:28 a.m. Nancy's pacemaker disconnects from her iPhone. Those 3 timestamps form a specific and narrow operational window. The direct question is now unavoidable. During that window, where was that Honda? Did it move? Was any activity recorded near Nancy's address after the documented 9:48 p.m. drop-off? Because those questions have answers, not in the narrative, in the data. Brian Entin has been physically present in Tucson longer and more consistently than virtually any other journalist covering this investigation. His sourcing inside the case has been confirmed accurate across multiple documented developments. The vacant property inquiry, the construction worker canvass, the genealogical DNA update. When Entin presses a specific question about a specific piece of evidence, it is not a general inquiry. It is a signal that something has been surfaced in the investigative record that the public account has not yet addressed. The question he is now pressing is not about the car's physical condition. It is not about the timeline for its return. It is about what investigators found inside its electronic data system. Specifically, what do the GPS logs and door timestamp records show for the night of January 31st? Where was that vehicle during the 4-hour window between the documented drop-off and the moment the doorbell camera went dark? That question has one of 2 answers. Either the car was stationary at a different location for the entire critical period, in which case it functions as an unimpeachable real-time alibi that no human testimony could replicate or challenge. Or it was not stationary at a different location, in which case the official account of that night does not survive contact with what the data shows. My analytical read is this. The deliberate institutional silence around that specific data point in an investigation where the FBI has chosen to share doorbell footage, confirm blood DNA, release a physical description of the suspect, and publicly acknowledge the genealogical lab work is itself a communicative act. They are not saying the data shows nothing, they are saying nothing. And in federal investigations at this stage, that specific nothing is a choice with a specific purpose. Here is the analytical pivot that I believe most coverage has completely missed, and it may be the most important reframe in this entire investigation. The assumption that has quietly shaped almost every discussion of this car is this. The Honda was impounded because it might be connected to the person who drove it. That assumption has generated a specific line of speculation about Sione that has been running since February 2nd, even though the family was publicly cleared on February 16th, even though Sione has cooperated throughout. But I want to test that assumption against the opposite analytical reading of the exact same facts. May God keep and protect you from every danger seen and unseen. We pray this case be quickly resolved and Nancy return to her home. Type Amen if you believe. Tell us where in the world you are praying from. Your tips could help solve this case. Now let's get into the details. Let me start with the fact that most coverage has mentioned once and never returned to because I think it is the most analytically significant detail in this entire investigation right now. 2 vehicles were taken into evidence in the days immediately following Nancy Guthrie's disappearance. The first was Nancy's own Subaru, retrieved from her garage, processed through standard forensic examination, and eventually returned to the family. That return happened weeks ago. The second vehicle was the Honda CR-V belonging to Annie Guthrie and Tommaso Chioni. The car that drove Nancy home at 9:48 p.m. on the night of January 31st. That car was taken into custody on February 2nd, one day after Nancy was reported missing. And as of day 72, it has not been returned. A reporter confirmed it was physically present at a local mechanic shop in Tucson, not in a standard impound lot, at a facility where it was being actively reassembled following exhaustive forensic disassembly. Now, I want to be precise about what reassembly means in this context because the word matters more than most coverage has acknowledged. At a routine inspection level, reassembly might not be notable, but at the depth of forensic examination this vehicle received, reassembly is a stage indicator. It does not happen at the beginning of the process. It happens near the end. Every inner layer has been opened, accessed, and systematically examined. And only when that process is nearly complete does reassembly begin. So, here is my analytical read on that detail. The car was near the end of its forensic examination weeks ago, and it still has not been returned. That gap between near completion and continued custody is not a procedural delay. In federal investigative practice, when a single item is held beyond the standard forensic window after examination is nearly complete, it is being held for a reason. And that reason is almost always the same. The data it contains has not yet served its full investigative purpose. Before I tell you what Brian Entin is pressing, I need to establish what that vehicle is actually capable of recording, because the significance of his question only lands fully when you understand the instrument he is asking about. Modern vehicles contain a continuously operating onboard electronic data system. The driver does not need to activate it. It cannot be deactivated. From the moment the vehicle is manufactured and running, it records location, route, every stop, the precise timing of each moment, speed, acceleration, starting point, door openings, door closings. Every second of operation captured and stored in layers the driver cannot access or alter. And it does not stop there. The internal system also records phone connections, entered navigation routes, and small operational interactions the driver may not consciously register. What if the data from that car does not point toward responsibility, but instead confirms the driver was not involved? If the GPS logs show the vehicle stationary at a completely different location for the entire critical window, that is not incriminating evidence. That is a real-time alibi recorded by a system that cannot be manipulated, cannot be pressured, and cannot change its account under questioning. And here is what that outcome produces investigatively, because this is the part most coverage never reaches. When a line of inquiry is completely eliminated, all investigative focus shifts to what remains. If the Honda's data confirms Cioni was elsewhere, it does not just protect him, it inadvertently defines a gap. Other vehicles, other movements, elements that were present on Nancy's street that night, which do not belong in the picture. In other words, what is clearly removed by the data helps clarify with precision what remains unexplained. The car is not just about one person and one night, it is a boundary instrument, and the boundaries it draws may be more revealing than what it directly contains. That is my analytical read, and I believe it is the read the investigation is operating on right now. Now, I want to take this one layer deeper because the Honda significance does not begin on the night of the abduction, and this is the thread I have been holding since the opening of this video. The FBI's investigative record in this case contains 3 documented timestamps of specific interest, not estimates, not approximations. Data source timestamps, one from the night of February 1st, one from neighborhood surveillance canvas, and one from a date the FBI specifically flagged, January 11th, which the Guthrie family's own public statement identified as a date of investigative significance nearly 3 weeks before the abduction. 2 independent sources, vehicle data analysis and neighborhood canvas, are both pointing at the same pre-incident corridor. That convergence is not coincidence, it is a pattern. And in federal investigations, pattern recognition across independent data sources is how pre-operational surveillance gets confirmed. Here is my analytical framework for what those 3 timestamps represent. If a vehicle appears near the same address at similar times across multiple documented occasions before the crime, that is no longer a single data point, it is a return. And a return carries purpose. When that pattern repeats across multiple pre-incident timestamps, it suggests a process that was running for weeks before the night everyone has been focused on. What happened on February 1st, in my assessment, was not the beginning of this operation. It was the final step.